Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Global Card Collectors. Today we have Jamie. He goes by Jamie UK Collector on Instagram. I highly recommend his page as I've enjoyed it, and we'll talk about more why as the conversation gets going. I've explained before how I really got into soccer in 2021, so don't know as much, and really appreciated following people on Instagram and listening to podcasts and all these things. So just kind of following Jamie's page was interesting and helpful. I thought it'd be great to have him on the pod and to share his perspective on the UK collecting. He's been in the game quite a lot longer than me, right? How long have you been collecting soccer cards?
So in terms of soccer or football cards, you could say 2014 is when I started, when I first saw Panini Prism being opened live in the States. And I was like, wow, there's actual cards with footballers' autographs in. Because originally, before that, I was an autograph collector. So the transition from autographs to cards was quite easy with the help of 2014 Prism having the ability to pull autographs.
So how did you watch them? Just on breaks?
So I was just like, so I was scrolling through. I was looking at baseball cards maybe in 2013. Allen and Ginter was the first product I personally opened. I ordered a box from America. I was like, damn, I could get Robin Van Persie, or I could get a Pele autograph. I ended up actually pulling a Mike Trout autograph, would you believe it, back in 2012.
Wow.
And that was the first, I guess, big card I owned. But at the time, it really wasn't big. It was maybe like $500-600. And I ended up selling it and getting hooked to online breaks of 2014 Prism when Cyrus was doing it. And I had $60 left in my PayPal at the end of selling that card back when I was 15, 16 years old, or $40, sorry, left in my PayPal. And I bought the Ivory Coast spot in a 2014 Prism break, and it was $40 for the whole case for Ivory Coast. I think now that would probably be about a $400-500 spot,
Yeah.
just because of the price of World Cup Prism 14 wax. But I actually managed to pull, well, Cyrus managed to pull for me the 2014 Prism Drogba 1 of 1
Whoa.
auto. Yeah, so that was the real first big card I owned, but I never got to hold it in my hands, because Cyrus sold it for me straight away, and I took my 3K, which was unbelievable for the time. Like, I was like, 3K, wow, this is insane. Football cards are amazing. And I was 16 with my 3K, and I just started buying it because I was addicted.
Yeah,
And
that
back
first
in
that yeah.
2014, if you're buying good singles, you couldn't go wrong compared to where today's market's gone.
Yeah. I'm sure others like myself are a bit envious of you having gotten in so early, and we wish we could roll back the clock, but
Honestly,
it
we all wish we could roll back the clock. Back then, I think a Messi Mega Cracks PSA 10 rookie was about 3.5K.
Jeez.
And I didn't buy one, sadly. I wanted one, but I didn't. 3.5K was far too much money for me as a
Yeah.
teenager.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, getting 3K from as a teenager, that's like crazy.
Yeah, it was insane. I think the first card I bought with it was a purple matchups of Messi and Ronaldo for about $110.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was always one of those iconic cards that I just wanted to have, and I ended up also picking up the green out of 25 in 2019, just before the boom, for about $800, which was also amazing. And I still have that. So
You still have that one. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think that's the most iconic card of the 2010s. That's my take.
I think in terms of iconic, yes, for
Yeah.
sure. Whether it's one will be one of the more valuable ones, I
Yeah.
don't know, just because the market tends to be very base orientated, and also Messi's just, people would rather just have Messi than have Messi and Ronaldo now, which to me, I'm not a huge fan of that, but I do understand that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've talked to a couple guests about that whole dynamic before too. I feel like them together, maybe I would guess with time that'll kind of resettle a bit, but who knows?
I think it will resettle a bit in the next 5 to 10 years, especially after they're both retired. And also, we've just seen Portugal pick their squad yesterday for the Euros, and guess who's in it? It's Cristiano. He's
He,
still there.
yeah,
He's
he's
still
still
playing.
there. Yeah. Who knows, right? I mean,
And arguably for me, I mean, some people might not like this, but arguably for me, the Saudi league is a more competitive league than the MLS.
thank you. I actually agree. But I'm just around Westerners who just
I mean, yeah,
hate
I mean,
Saudi,
I feel
so
like
it's like bad.
yeah, most people outside the Middle East will probably tell you the MLS is a better league, and the Saudi people are only going for money. But you could just as easily argue people are going to the MLS to retire, and there's still quality players. Like, for example, Kante went there when he still could have had another couple years at the top level. Or Cristiano's he basically took Manchester United past the Champions League group stages single-handedly, and then went to Saudi a year later.
Yeah,
So to say it's retirement league is a bit controversial for Saudi wise. I mean, US wise, I'd agree, but
yeah, no, I agree, and I mean, I don't want to like attack Messi or anything, but
no, I mean, I still do believe Messi does have that edge over Ronaldo just because he has a World Cup. And he was unbelievable at that World Cup as well.
he
People say
was
he didn't deserve it, he was lucky. He was unbelievable at that World Cup. He was like, at that age, to be playing at that level in the World Cup final is unbelievable. Don't get me wrong, Mbappe had the better game in that World Cup final, but
right.
for Messi's age and the fact he won just takes him that level above.
Yeah, I mean, and the just to circle it, I mean, I'm pretty sure Messi went to the MLS for money. I'm pretty sure he
I
went
don't
to
Yeah, I agree.
PSG. He went to PSG and got a bunch of money from Qatar. So, I don't, these kinds of value judgments I find kind of hypocritical about the Ronaldo thing, for instance.
So with Messi, I don't blame his situation at all for going to Miami. Although like you said, he did do it for money because obviously now he's going to have his own franchise in the MLS, and he's going to be in that Beckham situation where he's going to make like $1 billion maybe in the future from his team in 20 years time when it's Messi's superstars or whatever it is, or but I don't blame his situation at all. And the fact he has gone to Miami has obviously helped his card market. But again, Ronaldo is doing comparatively better in Saudi than Messi is doing in Miami for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Ronaldo really is just kind of like a
He's an
crazy,
animal. He's
yeah.
an
I
animal.
mean, yeah. I mean, he's
There's no other
30.
way to. He's just an animal.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He's undeniable. All
Yeah.
right, so you got hooked in 2014, um,
Yeah.
and
So
stayed in it pretty consistently.
um I would say because I was still an autograph collector in 2014, and I didn't quite see cards as an investment till 2016-17 when Pulisic came in. From about 2014 to about 2016, I was still quite autograph orientated. I was still sending a few letters to the football teams to ask for autographs. I was going to a few training grounds, standing outside trying to meet cool football players and get selfies with them. And I was heavy into my cricket, which you might be into. But I was heavy into going to a lot of cricket. I was running my own cricket blog, posting on about all the matches I was going to. I was trying to get match worn cricket shirts. But yeah, about 2016 was when football cards really, really kicked in for me. And I just can only wish I bought more, but
What were you
still got a
getting?
good
Yeah,
collection, so I can't complain. But yeah, 2016 Panini Select came out. I started to jump back in a bit more. I saw how crazy Pulisic cards were going. I was like Pulisic was selling for higher than Messi
In 2016.
in 2017 he was selling for higher than Messi.
Wow.
Because everyone was like, because I think they just won the bid for the World Cup maybe in 26, maybe
Sounds
around
about right.
2017, 2018.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
And everyone was like, Pulisic is going to be this, like, the leader of this generation for the next 15 years as American soccer completely changes. And everyone thought in 2017 the MLS by now would be I think 2017 asked the average American soccer collector where the MLS would be. They would probably say it would have players like Messi in, because that was post Beckham era and the MLS was really looking up. And we were thinking we're going to have loads of young, new, great players in America because Pulisic is going to lead this next line of generation. Although that probably hasn't quite come through as well as they would have wanted, but you still got a good few young American players.
Yeah,
But that's when I started to see it as like an
okay.
investment and a real collectible for me. Like I knew it was going to get competitive between collectors, which
Just
is
kind
what
of
you want to see in the market.
seeing that Pulisic, this American,
Yeah,
was generating so much
yeah,
interest, and
exactly.
okay. Um,
I think I ordered. I think was it he had the Donruss debuts or something in 2016. I think I ordered a case of. I was so like I was buying into the hype. I think I ordered a case of blasters of 2016 Donruss at like $19 a blast or whatever it is.
okay.
Um, and I was chasing the Pulisic purple retail exclusive. That was like the chase card. It was going for like almost $1,000 in a PSA 10 in 2018, and I was like, oh God, I've got to have this card. This is the card to own. It was. I think I owned it when I think I owned 2 copies when it was pop 4 or something. Ended up, I think, selling one for about $400, which is good, and ended up selling the other one a lot later for about $100. So
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I mean, this is really funny that someone in the UK is chasing Pulisic in
I
2016.
mean, a funny story. So when I was doing my A levels, when I was like 17, where that would have been about 8 years, 8 years ago, from whenever it was 8 years ago, we were doing our A levels and we were sitting in the back class. One of my friends actually bought like I think it was a case of 2014 Prism to open, and he brought it into school. It was like
Wow.
that. It was like because that was when like all soccer product was on the decline from like 2015 to 2017 because people like I don't know what it was. It was just there wasn't enough collectors to satisfy all the 2 products a year that Panini were releasing.
Wow.
So I think soccer was on the decline in wax price. You could have got like Panini Prison Box for like $90 a piece. I think it was from 2014. So he bought a case for like $1,000, and he brought it into school, and we opened it at the back of our class. And now I look back and I'm like, holy crap! We opened a $50,000 case
Yeah.
of 2014 Prism at the back of our
Yeah.
class. And he was chucking the Messi and Ronaldo base around the room. Because they were worthless. They were $1 a piece. And then they of course went up to like $3K a piece during the boom. And now they're back down to like $100 a piece.
Right. Wow.
Just
Um,
some insane memories from that time. But 2016 to 2019 was that real like golden era of collecting where I was looking into rookie stickers. I was buying off the Panini website. I was going to France to go and pick up the 20 Mbappe stickers I'd ordered for 30 cents a piece from Panini France, and there was just some amazing times, and that's when I do miss collecting from that, when there was only like 2 or 3 sets a year.
so that I really didn't know that. I don't hear much about the history pre 2020, let's say.
That is the issue, the lack of education in the hobby.
Yeah.
Like I was listening to one of your earlier podcast episodes, and I think someone said they only collect vintage and pre-modern because there's 3 or 4 or there might be 10 one of ones of a specific cards. But if you look back at the 2014 to 2019 era, there might be one or two one of ones per card for every card. And there is not a choice. There's very rarely a hybrid. There's just not 500 one of one, sadly. Otherwise I would have had a few more myself. The only one of one I ever owned, actually, pre 2018, I'd say, is a Nationals one of one, which I got in a trade from the first ever card show I went to when I was on holiday in New York in 2017, and no one wanted to touch soccer. I'd flown straight from France to go on holiday with my grandma in New York, and there was this card show going on. So I had my 25 Mbappe foot rookies
Okay.
from Panini in
Yep.
top loaders, and I was trying to sell them for $30 a piece because I just bought them for 30 cents, and I couldn't sell a single one. I couldn't sell an Mbappe foot rookie in 2017 for $30.
Wow.
They were selling on eBay for $30. I was like, okay, I have $300 worth of spending money here. Maybe I sell 10. I'm going to have money for this holiday to spend in New York, and no one would buy anything. So I ended up worst trade I ever did. I ended up trading like 10 or 11 mint condition Mbappe rookie stickers. Like the dealer literally took them out of my bag, had to look at every single one of them, traded 10 of them for a messy one of one, which at the time was like a $500 card.
Okay.
But the Mbappe rookie stickers obviously went up a lot more, and he probably got maybe 4 or 5 PSA 10s out of that. And I hope he sold them early and didn't absolutely make a killing off me, but he probably did make a killing off me.
Yeah. I'm sure he made more than.
But I think at one point I owned about 60 copies or 50 copies of the Mbappe foot rookie sticker.
Wow.
But I only ever managed to grade about 3 or 4 10s, which is insane to me. Because it just shows how, and I think PSA have got, again, not good, but it's inconsistent, have inconsistently got easier on grading stickers. Because I am seeing a lot more 10s recently, a lot more high grades. But back then, from about 2017, when the Mbappe rookie sticker came out, all the way until very recently, it was so hard to get a PSA 10 on a sticker.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think at the peak, I sold a couple at the peak, and I've still got a couple, so I've done pretty well off them. And you can't go wrong buying those stickers at 30 cents. But it's just the market has changed so much.
Yeah. So, well, before we kind of talk about the differences, talk about it, I guess.
So obviously the one of ones, like I've just said, like you have, but going off from the one of ones, you also have so many more parallels now, which just makes having a numbered card so much less special. And also, like, who wants an out of 99 when there's also an out of 75, an out of 65, an out of 50, an out of 49, and out of, like, you know.
Yep.
If I go back again, throwing back towards the 2014 Prism example, there were maybe 6 parallels throughout the whole set. The highest being, this is bugging me a bit. I think the blue was 199.
Yep.
Red was 149.
Yep.
And then purple 99, green 25. The national exclusive I don't really count, but you can count it. It's 55 but not numbered. But it's a nationals card. But then the green, you have the gold, the power gold, the one of one. That's 7 pack pooled parallels, which is, you just don't see these days, and why it's so much better to own a 2014 Prism numbered card compared to anything else, in my opinion. And if you look at, again, back to 2014, because they were less valuable, less people were grading them. So if you have a high grade copy, it's so much lower pop than any of the stuff today, because no one was touching them. No one was, sending to PSA to grade.
Right.
Even when it was $8 a card to grade, which it was back in 2014, it was like $7.50 a card, and it would be back in a month.
Right. And I mean, I know with 2014, it's like it's hard to get 10s on that stuff.
Because well, especially now, because people have, the chances are you've had them, if you were opening them in 2014, you had the cards sitting in dollar boxes, maybe in a sleeve, probably not in the top loader. And the edges, the back edges are specifically are really sensitive to chipping. So it's really hard to get PSA 10, although it is, I'd say, slightly easier to get a BGS 9.5 because you can still get a 9 on the corners and the edges, and then you can still get a 9.5. So you still do see the occasional 9.5 newly graded, but again, that's also why I prefer to stick to PSA most of the time.
Because of the consistency or
Just
the
because, well, the consistency on, I wouldn't say there's any consistency on stickers across any grading company. There really isn't.
Right.
But the cards specifically, I would say for that era of cards, I would much rather have a PSA holder. I'd probably pick, this is going to sound really like a little bit controversial. I'd probably pick a PSA 9 over a BGS 9.5 min gem.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's just for me personally. Just because I've seen BGS 9.5 min gems have some awful corners. Like I've seen these curved corners. I mean, those types of corners might get PSA 7s if they were put into a PSA 7.
Yeah. Yeah. I crossed over a BGS 9 Modric National Convention. And I just
To a
subgraded.
PSA.
Yeah, and it got a 9. So
That's pretty good. You can't complain with that.
No, I was very happy.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
that
good.
was
Yeah.
that was
You can,
dope.
yeah.
But the subgrades help you kind of navigate that, I think.
Oh yeah. So for example, like you said, I picked up this one recently, but
All right.
definitely one of the key factors, well, key reasons I picked it up was the subgrades. I look at that and I just think for a 9.5, you can't really have much better a BGS 9.5 than a
Okay.
10, 9.5, 9.5, 9.5. You know, it's like a true gem plus, they call it.
Yep.
And if you look at the cleanliness of that auto as well, it's magic.
Yeah, this card is incredible. Maybe can you just say what it is before
So it's actually from the last year I collect, because obviously post COVID is when it started to get ridiculous. 2019 Prism Ronaldo, 2019 Prism Premier League Ronaldo Gold out of 10. So this was the first Prism Premier League product they did. And for me, by far the best Premier League products they did. Maybe 2020 Impeccable has like a say on that because of the on-card autos it had in it. But this is definitely the best Prism Premier League product they ever did, in my opinion. And if you look at the checklist of the legends they had, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I love the Bergkamp and the Henry Legends card they had in the fully licensed Arsenal kits. And they were just also, the Club Legends were a much shorter print than the base autos, which is also good. But also the products as a whole of 2019 Prism was much shorter print than any of the products you see today. It had hobby and breakaway only, I think. No choice. But also hobby was a much shorter print to what it is now, with less parallels and less case hits and less inserts and less filler autographs, which is ideal for me when I'm looking to collect something.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, so it's really 2020, right? You would say, where it kind of starts to go off
Here's
the
the thing,
rails, or
I'm not sure whether you're aware, but during COVID, Topps kind of delayed all their releases. So 2019 Chrome with Haaland in the rookie year has all the bubble and the carbon variations. I think you probably see them, like the purple carbon, which are unnumbered, or the gold bubbles. And that is probably the first set I wouldn't touch, just because they actually changed the release. They changed the release for that, and they released it after COVID. 2019-20 Champions League Chrome wasn't released, I think, until the end of 2020 or the start of 2021.
okay.
So they kind of catered it towards post COVID. So I don't really. It kind of the Chrome brand for me is, I don't want to say it's been ruined, but it's definitely been affected by Topps' behavior and the fact they just weren't first. Like Panini were the first to realize, hang on, this market is important. They introduced 2014 Prism, 2015 Donruss, 2015 Select, and they just knew this is where we want. Soccer is great, and we want to make some good stuff for it. And then Topps kind of were always making Premier Golds and doing their thing, but they never were thinking this is going to be a big deal or something we want to invest hugely. And they were always baseball priority. And for soccer, Panini is just so far ahead for me.
Uh,
Especially if you look at that era from 2014 to 2019.
yeah, that's interesting. Are there any other sets that you particularly like? I mean, everyone points to the Flawless, obviously, and
So of course,
Treble. Yeah.
so I do like the earlier selects. I like Flawless. I like the first Revolution, although I really don't have enough. Really
Hmm.
don't have anything of it myself. Um, I just like that gold again. The golden era of Panini from 2014 to 2019 is great, and I also love like pre-modern with like the Merlin stuff from the 1990s looks and the numbered stuff is just insanely rare. So I've been building the 1998 Merlin Ruby Serie A set recently, and that's just been my main project. I absolutely love that stuff because there's only again there's it all links together. There's only one parallel for that set. It's out of 100. There's a gold unnumbered and there's base. That's all there is. It's simple. You know exactly what there is out there. It's super short supply. It never comes up to market, which is a big deal for me as well. If something comes up to market a lot, it's clearly not that desirable if someone's flipping or everyone's flipping and selling it. If something doesn't come to market as much, you know the collectors are keeping it and they want to have it in their collections.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's
But yeah, apart from that, there's obviously I love nobility. I love it. I don't have again, I think I have one card from it maybe.
yeah,
Such a great set. I wish I had like the Crescent Maradona and the
yeah,
Crescent Pele would be sick. And then you've also got like the Pele match worn patch card, and you've got the match worn auto from Santos, which is just insane. And then you have Noir. Noir's unbelievable. It's got the spotlights out completely out of my budget now, and I'll never own one probably. Don't want to say never, but you never know. Yeah, probably not gonna own one ever. I think the Ronaldo in a PSA 7, the Noir did around 20K. I think it might have been 18K
wow.
like last week, and then the Messi did, and that was in a PSA 7, I should add, of
Yeah,
the Ronaldo.
yeah, yeah,
And then the Messi, I think, was maybe a PSA 8 with a less clean auto. I want to say it was around 35, but
yeah.
you'd have to check that to make around 35K, which again, out of most collectors' budgets. But Noir's a great set. You can get the on-card vertical autos for a lot cheaper, but again, still expensive. Base design, I love a simple base design. 2014 Prism has it. Noir also has it. The early selects also have it. There's definitely a pattern through the stuff I'm collecting.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, do you do vintage at all? I mean, I know you talked
I
about
do
the
I
98.
do have I do like to buy like the key vintage cards in my collection. So I have a Maradona PSA 2 1977 disc
Cool.
just for the personal collection. And I have a couple of the Pele rookies. I used to own the Alifas, but I did sell them during the boom because the money was just it was too much. Like I think like the PS3 I had split with a friend and we sold it for like 50 something K. It was ridiculous. Um so I have a lot of the Pele rookies in like a PSA 1 just to own a copy in the
Yeah.
collection. I have like a Titulares PSA 1, an Aquarella PSA 1 maybe. What are the other ones? I like what are the other Pele rookies now? I haven't really been going looking into vintage that much recently, but I do like the 1962 Copa Mundos with the flag borders.
Yeah, you commented on my I just got one of those. You commented on my
I love that. I
yeah.
love that set so much. The design is just iconic. It's just such a great,
Yeah.
such a great. And they have the Italian and the Brazilian version.
Okay.
So I think there's the Italian version. I think it's one way. Again, I haven't my vintage is lately hasn't been a lot, but okay. So I think one of the versions has the number on the front and has a blank back, and then one of the versions has no number on the front but has details of the manufacturer on the back. I think that might be the Brazilian version.
Okay.
And has like the details of the whole car. It has the player's name. It has the edition it's from, where it was produced. So I do like the two different versions. And I think one of the versions again has a lot higher pop than the other version. So again, that's something to look into. And obviously, if you're collecting a Brazilian player, in my opinion, you'd want the Brazilian edition. But
It would seem that way, and I'm guessing it was lower production. Just
yeah, I would guess so, just because, or maybe not even lower production, but just the fact it was Italy versus Brazil. If you look at Italy, it's like it's got that tradition of collecting, so they probably got a higher population and more copies that have been stored correctly.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that when I first saw that, I just love that
It's
sticker.
such a
Yeah.
great set. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just bought a SGC one. Just wanted it for the
Yeah. Which
collection, you know.
which player was it? Was it Garincha or Pele?
Pele. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Obviously the
Um,
one to own. I also
yeah.
like the Ashen set, the Ashen one from that set, because he just doesn't have that much good stuff.
Ashen.
Yeah, Yashin. I love
Yashin.
Yashin.
Oh,
Yeah.
the goalie, right?
Yeah, the goalie. He's, in my opinion, like, he's the only keeper to collect really from the vintage era for me. Like, he's the only one I'd ever heard of before from like pre-90. If I know a keeper, there's either Gordon Banks and Levi Ashen from like pre-1970. Other than that, I probably couldn't name a single other goalkeeper from that era, and I could only name Gordon Banks because obviously I'm English and he's the World Cup winner, you know.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I was looking at Yasin. It was on PWCC and it went pretty high. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. And it forced me to, I mean, part of what I like about collecting is I like discover cards and then I like learn
Yeah.
about the guys and like go read online and stuff and piece it together just to because I have a lot to kind of catch up on his
I
you
think that was really why I first got into it, when I kind of like discovered, like you say, 2014 Prism, when I discovered like the brands of Select and Prism, the differences, and why one was more valuable and why one has higher rarity and why people just go for stuff more. And it's just very interesting to explore as
know.
a
How,
whole.
how
The
do you
hobby's
feel
great.
about treble? Because that's kind of a lightning rod
Well,
that
I
in
like
the hobby.
collecting stuff. So the key for me, and I've always followed, I've always liked following the best collectors from before I got in the hobby. So if I'm looking at I'm trying to like follow the patterns and trying to increase the value of my collection by collecting stuff that I think will be sought after in the future. And personally, for me, again, everyone's welcome to collect what they want to collect
Of
and
course.
do what you want. But Treble's one of those that wasn't collected before COVID. And that's when all the true collectors the true collectors were around. Like, before the money came into the hobby. You can't say that, well, most of the people that came into the hobby post COVID, not everyone, most people, did come in as a bit of I could make a bit of money here. So when I
Definitely.
look at treble, I think that stuff wasn't worth that. You could literally buy a messy green treble for like for like 200-300 bucks before
Right.
COVID. So if that's going to be worth whatever it is, five figures, 10K or more, that's just crazy to me, because that, among the original collectors, still doesn't have any value. And that's why you always see like a Messi treble or a Ronaldo treble in every PWCC auction these days, because
Yeah.
they're just getting rotated around. Like, they're just moving between collectors or
Yeah.
collectors.
I mean,
Okay.
I feel like it kind of got started a bit, just the interest in it with, too, with just PMGs. I mean, are you familiar
Yeah.
with that kind of that whole kind of craze maybe 2 years ago? And then,
Everyone was, but that's the thing. Everyone was like, "What's the next PMG? What's the next
yeah,
PMG?" And I found that the way to find the next PMG, the PMG wasn't like again, that at release the PMG wasn't that valuable, but then it built up over the 5 years after release. So if treble had got popular in between 2018 and 2020, like PMG got popular between like 2000 and 2002, then I'd say, okay, the treble stands some kind of test of time, or it's built up its reputation. But the PMG is just a very unique situation. And again, going back to the parallels, the PMG was out of 100. That's it.
yeah,
You don't have it like treble, where it's out of 75, out of 25. You have all these different parallels and this ridiculous checklist of players that you don't want. PMG, every player is sought after. Like, it seems like every player is sought after. It's
yeah,
not just the top players. People want to complete the sets. People aren't trying to complete the sets
Right.
with the treble. They just want to own the Messi or Ronaldo treble, and then I don't know if they want to pump it or if they want to actually collect it, but it's not the same as the PMG. The collecting mindset's different. And that's why I've gone back to the pre-modern number stuff, just because the mindset is actually more similar to the PMG mindset. If I look at Japan, for example, the Japanese, I've always found that Japan has always had a very early buy-in mind. Like they're always good at buying in early and getting ahead of the game. So I
Interesting.
always look at the average Japanese soccer collector, and that they collect the same thing as me. They collect the 2014 Prism. I don't collect the 2017 Chrome, but they do dabble in that.
Yep.
They collect. There's a true collecting culture over there. And I'd rather follow that culture than follow a westernized soccer culture, which is more involved in flipping cards. And I'd rather delve into that side than the other side. So that's what it is.
That's I'd never heard that take about kind of the Japanese being good, just better collectors.
I mean,
Is that
also the
anything
Asian
else to it? Yeah.
I mean, the Asian market in general, I would say, is just stronger for soccer because there's more high-end buyers for soccer specifically. If you look at America, people are getting into soccer mostly to flip and to break and to make money out of. But in China, you have these super collectors who are collecting Eden Hazard rainbows and random stuff you just would never think that people would collect. And then you see why if these Eden Hazard cards are going for $1,000, why these Ronaldo cards wouldn't go for 5 to 10 grand. You know, it kind of makes you understand it more.
Right. Right. Interesting. So we should be following Asia basically.
I mean, for high-end soccer,
Yeah.
for high-end football, high-end, so yeah, whatever you want to call that. For me, that is where a lot of the market is. Although I would say America and also Europe has been buying into it a lot more over the past year or two, let's say. But you're also looking at how immature it is because they're still buying mass overproduced stuff as well. Like you see how many people have got burnt on Haaland autos in the past
Mm-hmm.
2 years, for example, or you see how that first generation, the first rookie they all started buying was Ansu Fati. Like that first generation of post-COVID collectors, I was selling my Ansu Fati cards on PWCC, and they were just doing. I couldn't believe the money they were doing. Obviously, I should have sold them all. I still have about 3 tops now PSA 10s of that first tops now, which were going for $2,000 at the time, and they're still sitting in my cupboard at home, probably at $150 a piece. I sold maybe half of them, but I didn't sell all of them because I was like, just in case Ansu Fati ends up being the one. he
This
was
is
good before that injury. He was, but
yeah. No.
just got screwed.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think all of us enjoy somewhat that part of the hobby too, collecting current players because then you can root for them
Yeah.
and,
But the thing is, post 2019, again, another good example. I think that Ansu Fati card was a production size of 300. The first Ansu Fati, and then his second one, I think, was 6,000 or something.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much, I'd say, in between those releases of those 2 tops nows is probably the cutoff for me, because that's when everyone started jumping in, and tops and Panini. Well, I say top predominantly, and then Panini a little bit started just overproducing everything.
Yeah.
Like even Haaland autos. Christ, Jesus. Oh my god. I can't believe there's just not enough demand for Haaland autos or even Manchester City cards in general to sustain the amount coming out. I kind of feel sorry for anyone who's bought Manchester City cards over the past 3 years because they've been so good, and they might have cheated. They definitely have cheated, but they have been so good.
Yeah.
But there's just not enough demand out there. And if you look at a graph of Manchester United cards and Manchester City cards the last 5 years, I could bet anything that Manchester United cards, as a comparison of what's gone up and down, have
Right.
outperformed Manchester City cards. And you look at
Yeah.
the team's performance, it just shows that
Yeah.
this market is not based on performance. Well, it is based on performance, but it's just not team wise. It's not based on performance.
Totally. I mean, the one thing I know about I know Liverpool has more collectors than probably any other
Yeah,
team. Is that fair? Would you agree with that?
I would say I would say you're in New Zealand or
I'm in Istanbul. I mean,
you're in Istanbul.
Will's in
So
New
I would say
Zealand.
in New Zealand, Australia, definitely Liverpool dominated. But across the world, I'd say it's different teams. Asia, I'd say, is Manchester United dominated, just because they were watching. It's all about the era they started watching football in. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So, like in the 1990s and early 2000s, Asia really got into their football as Asian players started to play in the top leagues across the world. You look at Jisung, is it Jisung Park? He played for Manchester United, and he built up a massive cult following there. And you also look at the players in Serie A who then also played in Asia after, and Serie A built up a massive cult following in Asia, and that's why they're so huge on Manchester United and Serie A cards.
Right.
And
Right.
then you look at America, and you see a ton of Chelsea collectors there, and you realize that they were starting to watch football in the mid to late 2000s, like in the 2010s, and that's when Chelsea were dominating. And you look at London. I don't want to be biased towards my own team, but Arsenal collectors have really been getting into it recently. And you look at the past year, and Arsenal stuff has been doing really well. It's because these new collectors have been watching Arsenal, and there's a lot of new Arsenal collectors entering the hobby.
Yeah, I actually, I mean, I was telling you on chat, like almost, it's funny, like all of my good friends are Arsenal supporters
Mm.
who have a team in the EPL,
Yeah,
and so I'm responsible for one of those collectors getting in. I'm proud of myself, Engin.
yeah,
But yeah, he's like, oh yeah, this looks fun. So he's helping the market there too.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, Liverpool. I just think because there's just the Liverpool fan. There's so many Liverpool fans, and they've just been like successful across the years. There's just
yeah,
like a general fan base for them, and there is always a good market for their top cards. But then again, you look at the last 4 years of Liverpool cards, and you think there's nothing really that special that's been produced for them, just because of the overproduction and the lack of Salah cards, maybe, or the lack of good Liverpool cards has been a bit of a shame recently. I think maybe other brands like Daka and Futera have been cashing in on that a bit,
Hmm.
by finding like being the alternative for collectors out there, which is interesting to look at as well.
Yeah. Futera put out a set, I think, right?
I think
Like
they did the
Arsenal and
same for
them.
Arsenal. They kind of realized there was a massive market for Arsenal right now.
Yeah.
They could get a license because I think there's no one who had the exclusive license at the time when they signed, and they did that. But I wouldn't touch Futera personally because it's just not my thing. But there are collectors out there who've built built collections and personal collections off it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, how do you see the UK collector scene? Like what I mean,
So I would say the UK collector scene, no matter, like, I know a lot of people from America message me and say, "Oh, is your shows mostly soccer? Is your shows Do you have any NFL, any NBA?" And what I would say is, if you have Pokemon, you're going to do very well in the UK.
okay.
Pokemon is just on top of everything in the UK. You have to remember that Pokemon, I think, I can't say this for sure, but I do believe that Pokemon was originally the original release might have started in the UK back in the late 1990s with the I think it's the UK, I think it was the UK with the original booster boxes after the Japanese ones.
Okay.
So I think Pokemon's built the biggest following over the part. It's always been around. So it's just been there, and it's always been a collector scene. Soccer is very new. Soccer is still 10 years old. Pokemon has been around. People have been collecting since they were kids in the late 1990s. no one has been collecting anything apart from Match Attack Soccer Wise and Panini sticker albums
Mm-hmm.
pre 2014, maybe except the very rare Premier Gold collector who might have had a few a few cards from 2002, 3, but really there's been nothing. There's been no collectors of soccer, I would
Yeah.
say, before 2014.
And so, I mean,
But
you
Pokemon,
obviously,
yeah, sorry.
well, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, yeah, if you go to a UK show, you're going to walk in and 90% of it is going to be Pokemon.
Wow. Okay. So I mean, you were at the London Card Show recently, right? And
I actually only went to trade night
okay.
because there's just it's got to the point where I'm buying cards like this, and soccer wise you don't really see them in the UK for a good price anymore. So it's
I
like
see.
if you do see the cards, if I do see a card I want, which is rare in the UK, the chances are it'll be priced. They'll People seem to price customs into their cards. Like they're like, oh my god, I bought this card for $2,000 in America. So I'm like, okay, I'll give you $2,000. They're like, I paid £100 for shipping, and then I paid $400 for customs. Can you give me 2,800? I'm like, no.
I'll just buy it in the States and
Yeah,
submit
I'll just use my
PWCC.
US shipping address, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
won't. I'll do it that way.
yeah, yeah. No, totally. So obviously you like 14 to 19, and vintage as well. And
I'm
then
pre-modern. Yeah,
yeah, pre-modern and vintage.
yeah.
And then 2020 onward, it's just kind of overprint.
A
Um,
couple PC cards here and there. Like I have a
okay.
Saka Impeccable or Impeccable. I actually do like Impeccable 2020 is a very impressive set
Okay.
from Panini because the on-card autos are as like they are slightly overproduced for on-card autos because there's some out of 99, some out of 89, but still a great set. If you look at the checklist, it had Saka, it had Ronaldo on card autographs, had pretty much anyone who's at the top of their game in the Premier League is in that set, and they have the impeccable stats autographs. I think again, not a set I've hugely collected, but a set I've always looked on at a distance. I've been like, that's a really nice set.
Okay. Okay. Um, and I mean, if it's predominantly Pokemon there,
Yeah.
and you know, I mean, are you optimistic about how it's evolving, the market, I
Well,
guess, and the collector levels and stuff like that?
in the UK and specifically, or around the
You
world,
you
because
I
in the so
answer both. I mean, yeah,
okay, so UK wise, we're still like I would say when I went to that first London card show, so I'd probably exaggerate when I said 90%, but when I went to that first London card show, it was 95% Pokemon easily. And
yeah.
now I'd say it's like 75 to 80% Pokemon.
Okay.
So it is getting there, but people are finally starting to if you look at in specific collectors, people are actually starting to learn about the older sets, which is great. Like some people who I've spoken to at when I went to the trade night at the last London card show, they were like, "Oh yeah, I've just started to collect 2014 Prism, and I see how rare it is, and how infrequently these cards come to market." I'm like, exactly. Like these good cards don't come to market. Like when's the last time a Messi Gold Prism sold at auction?
Do you know?
I can't even remember.
Yeah.
And like you look at these whale collectors, like I don't want to pick out any specific names because I don't want to like mention them if in case they
Sure.
don't even mention. But you look at these whale collectors and they do not sell their best cards. They know what the best cards are because they know that there's going to be a collector in the future, or that they will not want. They know there's going to be a collector in the future who wants to either buy it off them for a higher amount, or
Mhm.
if they want to buy it, they're going to have to buy it from that specific person because they're the only known examples, or they're going to want to keep it for the price they bought it for because they love it so much. So you're
Yeah.
gonna have if you want those good cards, you have to pay up. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Right. Right. Um,
But I'm more optimistic, I'd say, on a global scale than I am on a UK scale.
okay.
The UK will grow, but my worry about the UK is a lack of disposable income.
Okay.
If you look at just the UK's income in comparison to America, so rent, for example, our rents are just extortionate compared to our incomes. Like the proportions are all wrong. Whereas if you look at the US, people don't spend half of their income on their rent. They spend 20% of or 10% of their income on their rent. Here in the UK, you spend 33 to 50% of your income on your rent, which means you have very little money to spend on cards, you know?
Right. Right.
In the US, you have your wages you got a lot higher wages, and in Asia, your wages are a lot higher in comparison to your living costs. So there's much more disposable income and a lot more room for the industry to grow from the bottom level. On the top level, I don't think that matters as much, which is why I'm more bullish on the top level. It doesn't relate to disposable incomes because these top level collectors have a lot of money to spend no matter what.
Yeah, that's no doubt macroeconomic and
Yeah,
stuff is
all the
yeah.
facts are important, whether it's, I'd say, rarity and the lack of a card coming to market, probably two of the most important factors for what makes a card sought after. Like, if a card doesn't come to market and people want it, they have to pay for it. They have to. If you
Right.
want it, you have to pay because it's not coming up again.
Right.
Like, if that Pop 2 comes up next week, even if you don't have money in your bank account, you're going to sell everything you've got
Right.
to get it because it's
Right.
never coming up again. If you really want it, you've got to get it now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So any other cards you want to show off? You showed off the Ronaldo.
So most of my cards are in storage because you never like to risk it, but I do have a
Sure.
couple here. Obviously, most of the... Okay, we'll go back to a funny story on this one. So this is one of those Mbappe foot rookie
Yep.
stickers in a 10. I think this is now like a $3,000 card, I want to say. I think I sold one in 2020 for 16,400
Oh,
on Golden. I think it was the second highest sale, which was I was very happy with, obviously, at the time. I think I
congrats.
bought the sticker for 30 cents and paid $9 to grade it.
That's probably as big of a profit as I've heard in the hobbies
But
I got in. Yeah.
the funny story about this one is that I think my grandma had a very, very small vacation flat in France, and you had to have a French address to send it
Yeah.
to get the 30-cent stickers to complete your album. I think I was just ordering about 5 every week for about 25 weeks.
I,
And I just built, but then I think like 90% of them got nine. I had a sub with about 30 Mbappe rookie stickers that just had 9999 all the way down for about 30 cards. But that's one of the 10s I had. But again, that's another example of PSA. They didn't look at my cards and give them all 9s. They were in an envelope without a
right.
sleeve. And Panini was sending them like naked in a plain white envelope. And you're telling me there was 39s in there.
Yeah.
Do me a favor.
I'm with
This
you
is
on
one
the
of the pens that I
PSA
got
thing.
lucky with, maybe in, I guess, judging by this 4 serial number, it starts in a 4. So I'm guessing I graded this in about 2018, 2018-ish,
Maybe
2017,
later.
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You think earlier.
I think it's probably, I'd guess 2018 is probably about the
Okay.
time. But yeah, that was the one I kept in a top loader for a while, and then I saw them start to go for over a couple thousand. I was like, God, I gotta get them graded. In fact, maybe they were going for about $300. I was like, oh, I've got to get them graded.
The 50 or 100 even. It's like, why
Because I
not?
think people still comment on one of the posts I posted in 2017 on Instagram. As a joke, people still comment on it. And I think I had a PSA 9 available for $30 of that sticker and a PSA 8 for about $20. So I think people still comment and be like, sold or something like that. I had comments in like the past 2 years still,
Right.
obviously.
That's funny.
So
Well,
that's what I always like to talk about that.
oh, shout out to your grandmother then.
Exactly. She doesn't have the flat anymore, sadly, but it was a better investment than she knows.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
What else do I have? This is, if I have this, yeah, this one's a cool card. I was at the National last year, and I went full degen, as you would say,
Yep.
and I opened a box of Upper Deck Manchester United,
2004.
2004, and I
Okay.
pulled this dual. Sorry, my camera's not the best quality, but it's a dual Ronaldo, Richardson. Not the best dual to have it with. He played for Sunderland a few years later, and it got a PSA 7, but which was pretty disappointing. So, because I was at the National, I decided to go and take it over to the Mike Baker tent, and I got a little gold sticker on it as well. So they think it's high. So basically, the gold sticker is basically them saying that, oh, they think it should be higher than a 7, which was also my opinion, which is why I took it there.
Right.
Straight, I literally got the card back from the PSA booth after one. I did a next day service, like $150 or something. Got the card back, saw the grade. They wanted to film with me. I was really pissed off about the grade. So I didn't film and took it straight to Mike Baker. I was like, I'm getting this stickered up right now. And an hour later, they called me and they were like, okay, we put the gold sticker. And I was like, I was like 100. I'm pretty good at doing my pre-grades. I'm not like the best, but I'm pretty good. I was like, this is an 8 or a 9. Like I've seen some, because they're usually quite generous with this upper deck set. So I've seen some some 7s and 8s, which have looked like they could have been 4s and 5s.
Right.
And so I thought this is like better than every single PSA 7 and better than most or all PSA 8s I've seen of this card. And I just didn't get it. And also what I love about this card is that because I pulled it pack fresh at the I pulled it out of the trade night at the National, I think on the Friday night. But because it's pack fresh, it doesn't have the faded Ronaldo autograph like all the other upper deck cards. So
Okay.
this Ronaldo auto is actually really clear.
It is. Yeah.
It's got the rookie auto and it's clear.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, I haven't
Yeah.
seen his auto from that period. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got this is what I'd call the mod. There's obviously I'd say there's about 5 different Ronaldo autographs. There's the rookie Ronaldo autograph, which is like this one. Then there's like the 2010 to 2013 autograph, which you can see in like Premier Gold. Then he has like a completely different but awesome autograph, and you can tell it's like him in 2014 Prism, which is like this super big fill the sticker autograph, which very rarely stays on sticker.
Yep.
Then you get to like 2018, he starts this type of autograph, which usually goes off the sticker.
Yep.
Or 2017, you see it on cards in like Immaculate, but you also see it like here. But it usually goes like off the sticker, and it's usually very big, which is why I like this example of this card because the autograph is just so clean. And then you've kind of got his like he's got like this big modern autograph now, which I'm not personally a fan of, which has kind of changed since like 2020, and you see it in the 2022, 2023 stuff. It's just not like his autograph from old. There are just like some very subtle differences. Again, I don't have a card to
I haven't
show it,
looked.
but it's just
Yeah.
amazing how he's like evolved his autographs with cards, because I don't think his autograph, I mean, his autograph has changed a bit on photos, but it hasn't changed as much when you look at other pieces apart from cards. So it's interesting to see.
I like
It's like
that.
an evolution, which
Yeah,
I like.
he's evolved with cards.
Yeah.
I like that.
And I'd still say his evolution of his autograph is better than the Messi autograph, which obviously evolved to a fake autograph
Yeah,
in
I
like the
was gonna say, yeah.
2018, the
That's a
2018
clear.
Eminence period, and he also had fakes in a bunch of other 2018, and I can't remember what other products.
Yeah, evolution, you just change your body, I guess, in that case.
Yeah, and Messi's is an evolution. It's just him probably saying, "Hey, cousin."
Yeah.
Yes.
Give me a straight L. Uh, so I'm curious how you're feeling about the Euro. And are you excited? What?
So so products wise, card wise, I'm very disappointed, but I think everyone's pretty disappointed. I think Panini did a much better job with Euro and World Cup products, and I'm glad. Thank God Panini have FIFA still, or that would just be the end. And they have that, I think, at least until 2030, which is a savior for the hobby, because you can't just have a monopoly of one company just producing 5 products a week. It's
Agree.
unhealthy and unsustainable.
Yeah.
Um, but the actual Euros itself, I'm really excited for. I've got tickets to all the England games, which is awesome. I'm
Cool.
going to Gelsenkirchen on the 16th for the first game, which is at the Schalke Stadium versus Serbia. And then I'm coming home and then going back to. I'm flying back and forth between each game, which is interesting because they're only 3 days apart.
Yeah.
Then I'm coming back, and then I'm going back for I want to say it's the Denmark game second in Frankfurt. Then
Okay.
flying back again, and I'm getting the Eurostar or whatever for the third game against. I'm still not 100% sure I want to go to the Slovenia game because we might already be qualified.
Right.
And honestly, I don't. I have cancelable arrangements for that game
Okay.
in case. And obviously, if we are already qualified at that point, I will be going to the round of 16, and then and it'll keep going. So the more games I go to, the more expensive it's going to be. So I've got to be careful on that front. I've
Okay.
actually already got a flight booked back for the final, just in case. The day after the final, I have a flight booked back from Berlin, which cost me €9. Again, can't go wrong for €9 because if we do get to the final, that will probably be a £400 to £500 flight.
Yeah.
So, but the Euros, I'm really excited for. I don't know whether we'll win. I'm not optimistic with Southgate, but at least he's changed up the squads. At least he's changed things up.
Mm-hmm.
He's finally done it. He's finally taken Henderson out. He's finally taken the likes of Chilwell, Sterling out. He's finally made some decisions. He's finally
Okay.
been like, this enough's enough. I need to listen. I need to do I need to pick the squad based on form, which in my opinion is very important for a tournament because it's all about who's in form on the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. You're going all those matches. You already got the plans. I mean that's cool too that you know as you advance
Got to think ahead. Same with
yeah,
cards, you know.
that's brilliant. I like it. Um, well, I guess just kind of as a wrap up question, I mean, I want to say that I've really learned a lot today. I mean, and talking to you, and you're younger than I am, but you know so much more about cards than I do, and it just kind of made me realize how you can just keep learning, and
Yeah, there's
so
so
I
many.
really appreciated you sharing everything, and thank you so much for coming on. Um, but yeah, I mean, you've been in it now for a long time. I mean, what's kind of your favorite thing about collecting and
I do. I like recently because before 2020, you didn't have the whole social aspect. So when I'd go to a card show, I'd be on my own, or there'd be no other guys to talk to about soccer. Like you wouldn't just go to a card show and you talk to other soccer collectors. But then I look at when I went to the 2021 national during COVID, I was like, there was like 6, 7, or 8 of us all collecting stock, and we all met up in a small group, and that was awesome. So I'd say like the social side has massively increased on cards, which is I think that's an important factor because it keeps people in the hobby if they have other people around them to collect with. To the social side's an awesome improvement from recent. And then just being able to, while everyone focuses, whilst everyone zig, I like to zag. I
yeah,
like to that's the phrase that I can't
yeah,
remember who taught me that, but that's literally the policy I followed for the past 4 years now. It's like when the crowd goes one way, you got to go the other, and that's what I've really enjoyed. Like people being so focused on collecting this Haaland era and this new era of collectors that I've been able to look back and see these little niches which have been missed. Like these, like for example, I picked up the first kick aficionados of Messi and Ronaldo recently, which back in 2019, 2020 would have probably cost me $1,000 each. And
okay,
they only cost me $500 each, despite we're post market because no one knows about these sets enough. No one's been educated. So I like to go back to where I feel more educated than other people. That's where I feel like I have a competitive, uh, an advantage over other people. Maybe is to look back and where I'm more knowledgeable. So that's where I've been enjoying the hobby the most, probably.
yeah. That I mean, I mean, the social is vital for me as well. It's like the main reason I do this podcast.
Yeah,
It's fun to meet people, and
exactly. Yeah,
uh, otherwise I'm just in Istanbul, like checking eBay and PWCC, but it's no fun.
yeah.
And my
Uh,
non-card collecting friends, of course, like I always like talking to them, but they're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was always the issue. Like in 2016, I was literally at the back of my school classroom scrolling through eBay, and I'd
Yeah.
have people like looking around like, what is he doing? What is he doing? Like, what is he doing on his computer over there? Like, he's looking at football cards. What's he doing? And then I had this friend who came in and he bought a case, and then he got into it a little bit and then dove out the hobby a little bit later. But that was a really fun time with me and for me. And so I really enjoy the social side, and but also, yeah, it's just awesome to collect, I think, and to have the knowledge.
Yeah, you definitely do. So thanks again, and I hope everyone listening enjoys. And again, this is Jamie. You can find him Jamie UK Collector on Instagram. So thanks a lot, Jamie. Any other thoughts to part with?
Any other thoughts? I would just say if you're buying cards now and you're buying from these modern products, just be careful what you're buying, honestly. Because if you're spending $500 on this Ronaldo Grail insert, I guarantee you, you can come back to this video in 5 years' time. I guarantee you that card will be under those individual cards will be under $100 in 5 years' time.
Yeah,
I can guarantee it now. People can shill it. People can do what they want to try and prove me wrong. But that market price of those types of cards, it will not be there in 4 or 5 years' time. Like you've seen what's happened to Harlan autos when they were coming out, they were $1,000, and
yeah.
now we're looking at like $100, $200 autos tops.
It's very
Be
good
careful.
advice. I wish I had listened to people like you earlier in my journey, but you kind of have to learn to. Or
Also, yeah, that's
yeah,
another thing. I wouldn't say I'm the only person to listen to, but it's also important to listen to the right people because I would say a lot of the hobby is covered in people who aren't being honest with you.
right, right. Good. With that, we'll say goodbye. And again, thanks so much. Enjoy your day.
Sure. Thanks.